so much Green Lantern stuff. I want it to come back. I want to rebuild my love for it.
You should.
I'm afraid to fall back in love with it. My wallet can't handle it.
Hello, Tom.
Hey, Dana, what's happening?
Not much. Just hanging out, talking to you, chatting as two guys talking toys. And welcome, loyal listeners.
It's the start of June.
I know, and I'm realizing as I look at my face right now that I have worked too much outside this weekend without any sunblock.
You look rugged. You've been out there punching bears all morning.
Those
And
bears better stay away from my house.
that's just morning work. That's not even getting into the evening when like the
Right.
vampires come out. That's a whole other
I
thing.
I did have to get into almost a tussle with a raccoon the other night. There
Those
was
things
a
are those things are loud and dangerous.
All right. There was a cool like great horned owl on the barn
Mhm.
outside, and we heard it hooting and ran out. And this raccoon's been getting into the trash, and he just kind of saunders over like I wasn't even there.
It's like, what up?
And he came around the front of the car, and he was like,
You-
"Oh, you're here."
oh,
And
I was
so,
occupied. I didn't realize.
and then I'm like, I wanted to chase him away, like make a
Mhm.
negative impact on him about this. Obviously, I don't want to hurt him, but I didn't want to scare the owl away either because it was cool to see him. So I just booked it and like ran at the raccoon, and he had a delay. He
Uh,
was like, "Oh, this is happening," and then so then I literally chased him out of the yard, and then the owl flew off, of course, because that's running on gravel. And then like 10 minutes later, I was outside doing something else, and that stupid raccoon just showed up again.
that's because he was in a horror movie.
Yeah.
He made stupid decisions. Like you go out there and Freddy Krueger's just standing there, and you're like, wait, no, is this happening? And he just charges you. And
Yeah.
he woke up, passed out in the field later, and he's like, oh, what a horrible dream. What time for dinner?
Yep. And then I chased him away again. But then I put the garbage out by the street, and he went out there and knocked it over and ate. So
He showed you.
apparently I don't have the physical, I'm not physically imposing enough to scare 15-pound critter.
So you need to drag him into a musical where he learns this lesson.
Right. And it'd be a lot easier if I was the kind of guy that would hurt an animal, but I'm not going. Now, if he was a human, I would just clock him in the head with something.
Now,
But
that'd be different.
yeah, I don't want to hurt a raccoon. He's just trying to get some grub.
So, aside from scaring a raccoon, did you pick up anything toy related? Did this
I
raccoon have
did.
a toy for you?
He did. You know who would thwart a raccoon like that? The only superhero from New Jersey. That's who. The Toxic Crusader.
He would fight a raccoon.
He would. I just got this guy from my pile of loot, and he's very similar to the original Playmates. He's from
Oh, so it's
Trick or Treat
is that
Studio.
the super? Oh, so that's not Super Seven. I was gonna say it didn't look like he had the same articulation. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I
Trick or
actually
Treat.
didn't know another one that made them.
They just released that they did kill him off, and he's just very similar to the original.
That's
And
very
he
cool.
he comes with a little thing of glow in the dark slime,
Nice.
and in there, I don't want to dig him out because I don't want to get slime all over the place. But yikes, too late.
Too late.
There's a
You've
little
been
like
slimed.
there's a little globby in there, like a little
Man,
plastic. And his go ahead.
I feel a little bit gypped from when we were younger and slime was like a precious commodity. It's just
Right.
in buckets now. You can go out and literally
And
buy
kids make
an
it like if I
actual bucket of slime now. You remember how hard it was? You had to like go to the supermarket and put a quarter in the machine, hoping you get the right enough of the right color glob to make a
right.
larger glob.
Yeah. And
Man,
now there are recipes to make it. We didn't have that when I was a kid.
blows
And
my mind.
it's got the cool mop bit where the head comes off and you can put a little slime in there.
Oh, that is
And
really
then you
cool.
squish it through the little holes there. And he comes with his little grenades. Very similar to the old one. But it's very cool. I like them.
Any toy that properly utilizes slime is okay in my book. Although
Yes.
I guess there's no way to not properly incorporate slime.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
that's a good point.
we had the slime pit. We had the what was the name of the one for the Ninja Turtles? The Flush-O-Matic. Yes. And I only remember this because I didn't have it, but I remember when I don't remember what acronym it was, one of those uptight groups where everything was satanic, actually got a news
Kind
interview
of miss
where
those people. They were entertaining.
they
Well,
were
they're back
talking
now. They're back now.
with a vengeance. But they were interviewing this guy who was
Now
talking
they're called
about
representatives.
yeah, there was a guy being interviewed, and he's talking about how the Flush-O-Matic is this terrible toy that it encourages torture and S&M, and it shows Raphael being tied underneath the toilet with the slime coming through.
Right, right.
And I was like, "What is your point? It's just it's
Like
Ninja
nobody's
Turtles,
ever been
man.
tied up before. Like
It's
women tied up on train tracks is the thing from
the earliest form of entertainment.
yeah. Well,
We wouldn't have Wonder Woman without it.
no,
Uh,
nor would we have Melvin
Toxic.
Junko. What'd you get?
So I've still been kind of enjoying Target being this radical notion of not price gouging your customers into oblivion has really
It
been
is radical.
it's really been ungrinding my
Socialist.
gears. It's amazing. So I go in and things are priced maybe the way that they should be priced. So I actually found She-Hulk from the new Iron Man wave.
Oh,
the
yeah,
other
that's a
day.
good figure.
Yeah, like I don't know how long this price reduction or sale is going to be going on, but the new Iron Man wave started popping up, and had it not been for them going from 25, 26 bucks to 17.50,
Same with
I
the
wouldn't get any of
classifieds.
them. Yeah, same thing. Drop those prices, but like 17.50, I had no intentions of getting Whiplash, but I got them. And She-Hulk was just I was willing to pay 25 for her, but 17.50 sure is much nicer.
Mhm.
And now, unfortunately, the customizer in me is actually starting to take hold again, where I'm seeing decent pricing and thinking to myself, well, if I just get two, then I can make it's not as much, and I can just make more stuff later. See, that's what you want people to do. That's what you want people to do.
Right.
Big Daddy Target. You want people to be like, oh, hey, this is a decent price. It's a decent price. I'll just get more.
Right.
As opposed to this one single thing is stupidly priced. I'm not buying anything. But that's been a plus. Also, we got another shipment.
Box.
We got a box. What is? And I genuinely don't know what's in this one. I'm not. I can't even.
See, you got
guess.
like old school McFarlane, like Overkill back there. What
Yeah,
am I
man.
looking at?
I'm going through. I have a. Speaking of boxes, I have a random box of just stuff that I was pulling out of the garage and get ready to put into storage, and it's just been sitting here, and I don't know why I haven't moved it to storage yet, but I was poking around in it and found a bunch of neat stuff. Yeah, like that old school Overkill, the 2013 2003 Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. So this is
all kinds of just magic boxes laying around your house.
I know, it's amazing. And then it's like Christmas that came, and then I forgot it was Christmas, and then Christmas came again. Oh, so this is actually Cyclone, the Origin Cyclone.
Oh, how cool!
Which I had ordered and then forgot about. Apparently, they have been on top of their game, shipping out stuff like right after the sales. Stuff goes up.
Yeah, because you're not seeing them in the stores.
No, yeah, these aren't going to be in stores, which probably makes a certain former Masters of the Universe employee happy. But these have been great. Yeah, Beastman's not happy about the current state of things. But this is awesome. He's got the chest is actually I don't know if you can see it. It's actually like a lenticular sticker, so
yeah.
It changes and moves. He's got
that's cool.
I like they kept the 2000X red circular design item that he had on his back. He's got actual whirlwinds, which is awesome. And I'm just waiting for it's got to happen eventually, where you get an actual tornado effect,
like the red tornado comes with.
Yeah, something where you can take the top half of him and then just stick that on top of there and have him doing a tornado thing. I think that would be really cool. But yeah,
doing a tornado thing.
Doing his, well, I don't want him doing the Texas tornado thing, because that's sad and tragic. But do his tornado thing.
Texas tornado. I still have to watch the Iron Claw.
Watch the Iron Claw. Like it's just an overall good movie. You don't have to be a wrestling fan to truly I don't even really want to say enjoy it. It's a tragic story, and it's a very well done movie about a series of tragedies that befall this family. Go out and see it. Uh, on a totally different note, I'm going to run it back to stuff that I had on display here. Dana, I want to talk about Green Lanterns.
Green Lantern,
Let's
Lantern Verde.
let's talk about some Green Lanterns, sir.
Okay.
It's I feel like we'll be able to kind of cut this in half, where you'll probably have a lot more knowledge of the earlier Green Lantern stuff, because there was a certain point in time where I had no interest. Like, I kind of like tangentially knew Green
Yeah.
Lantern from, like, he was around, he was part of the Justice League, but it wasn't until Jeff Johns got his hands on that Blackest Night story
Yeah.
that
The
I
Blackest
was
Night.
all in.
Good stuff.
But I remember him from from like the superpowers line, but
Right.
he was green, he was a dude. Remember
I
him from the cartoon.
Yeah, you know what? You know what's funny? When I got older, so my first Green Lantern experience, like many of the others, was superpowers. Like you
Mhm.
just said, the Super Friends cartoon, and Hal Jordan had that great hero voice. Like whoever was voicing him, he was always like the he was always like the serious guy. Even more serious than Batman, because he was like, well, this is what we got to do. And he always had that great voice. I don't know who voiced him, but it was great. And and then I got the superpowers figure, and I
Mhm.
didn't know much about him because in the
Yeah.
cartoon, so when they start reading the comics, they say that the power ring is the most powerful weapon in the universe,
Mhm.
right? But in the cartoons, he did kind of goofy things with it.
Yeah. He'd make like a box. He'd make like a
Right.
boxing glove.
And then you see the
I
pantomime, like,
Yeah, he'd be like, I'm trapped. Like, they'd be like, knock it off. But
right.
I remember an episode where he made, they're fighting the Legion of Doom, and they were Green Lantern was squaring off against Sinestro, and
Of
he
course.
made say just you couldn't fight anyone else. It's like how Mysterio will only fight Spider-Man, even though he could be super duper hardcore against almost
Yeah,
anybody else.
he's just a jerk against Spider-Man because it was.
But I remember
But
Green Lantern making a green tidal wave, and it turned
yeah,
into a hand. And then
yeah,
Sinestro also made a green, I'm sorry, a
yellow.
yellow tidal wave, and they just started arm wrestling with a tidal wave. And
Right,
I'm like,
they did that with their hands. Yeah, it was
man, I
pretty
was like, how
cool.
many people on that beach died horribly in the
And then
crossfire of that?
when I found out that it was like a galactic police force and there were
That made
more
it
than one, that
that
made
made it
it
cool.
so much more cool.
Yeah.
Especially it's like if the power ring is the most powerful thing in the universe and
Mhm.
there is an army of people who have them, why does evil exist? Why isn't the Green Lantern's light
How is it
like
not snuffed out
right, right.
just immediately? How do we
And then
not live in a Green Lantern police state
and
just
then
across the galaxy?
I feel like they said the Green Lantern's ring is the only. So that's my first one was the Superpowers
Mhm.
collection, and he's cool, like well
Mhm.
articulated, well sculpted. He had that the weird thing when you squeeze his
Yeah.
legs, um, and that made me learn more about him. And I feel like now as an adult, whenever I feel like they say that Green Lantern's ring is the most powerful thing in the universe, only to show how powerful other people are. For instance,
Mhm.
he'll put Darkseid in a bubble
Yeah.
and be like, and then Darkseid will just break out, and you're like, oh snap,
Can't believe
Darkseid.
he's
Exactly.
Green Lantern is what I guess like what wrestling would call enhancement talent. He's really good, and you're like, he's about intercontinental title level, but he's
Right,
never going to get above that.
right.
Yeah, you put someone up there against him, and you're like, oh, holy cow, he beat Green Lantern. Well, he's got to go fight Superman now.
Yeah, and then my next Green Lantern, and I forget what year it was it was called like Hard Traveling Heroes. It was a
Mhm.
DC Direct. It
Mhm.
had and they were like pre-posed. So
Yeah.
they were weird. Like the Green Lantern was really like
Mhm.
staunch looking, and he had this hand that would hold the lantern out, and
Mhm.
his ring hand was kind of pointing at it,
Yeah.
and it was elbowed, but he couldn't turn.
Mhm.
And they made the Black Canary and the Green Arrow, who was
Okay.
in this weird. He was in the stance to shoot. He had the
Yeah.
one foot out, almost like a plie,
Mhm.
releve kind of thing, and and that was my next, and that was a 6-inch line, and that's when DC Direct was you know, it was a collector thing. Like he never
Mhm.
showed up in like Toys R Us and that. You had to find
Yeah.
that in a comic book store.
Yeah, that you specifically had to go to comic shops for.
Yeah, and then I remember the DC Universe. Was that was Mattel, right?
Yes, when DC Universe kicked in as an answer to Marvel Legends, I was kind of interested in it because it was they kind of seemed to know exactly what they wanted to be right out
Yeah.
of the gate.
And
They
I
had
actually
figured out,
preferred them over the Marvel Legends because they had
I,
less articulation and better
yeah,
sculpting.
yeah, they had figured out. I think they were a lot smarter about where they were placing articulation in those figures.
Yeah.
You had such a also the sculpting
It's
was
fantastic.
yeah, sculpting was really great, but it was also clean enough where you could cut in the articulation in like the neck. They had the ab crunch, which was
Yep.
it worked and it worked
And it
well.
had like a click. It wasn't
Yes.
like the Marvel Legends, like sometimes the weight of a woman's hair would push
Mhm.
that forward. But that collection had a like a click. It was
Yeah.
sturdy. It was good.
It took I remember them taking kind of the next step with their female characters because
Right.
I mean everyone struggled with general plastic thinness because as you know generally there's more slight than the males, but
Yeah, the
and
knees
everyone
buckled and all that.
yeah. But I remember them tackling that a little bit better
Yeah,
than Marvel Legends for a while. Where like
absolutely.
they didn't get knock kneed as easily. The ankle joints were a lot stronger. Even for
Mhm.
characters like Black Canary who had heels, you could still stand most of them, and they would
Right.
not topple immediately.
And they had robust legs.
Yeah.
Like they were muscular
Mhm.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a pervert, but you know, they were different
Yeah.
than the Marvel Legend legs. They were
Yeah.
more well sculpted
And
because
I
they
remember
didn't have that hip joint to
the
worry about.
yeah the hip joint was I think was a big factor because they had worked out a different type of articulation where it was almost like a not quite a ratcheting joint, not yet, but it also wasn't that cut into the hip a straight ball and then the rest of the leg attached to that.
Yeah.
It was a lot more seamless. So you didn't the articulation was there and Marvel Legends were great, but this was when we started getting into the aesthetics
Yeah. And I was
versus
like, what? I don't know,
just
it was like
articulation for articulation point.
2007-ish. Like it was around
Uh
that time, 2006,
yeah. Yeah, a little yeah, around probably around that time because they
I was excited because it gave us 6-inch figures that we're finding in the retail stores. They
mhm,
weren't the DC Direct where you had to go to the comic shops.
yeah.
They were you could find them finally in the store in Toys R Us and Walmart and Target,
Yeah,
you know.
and they were decently priced. And
Yes.
I remember getting Green Lantern just because I had how I wanted John because I was huge into Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
Um, are you? Please tell me you're not hearing lawnmowing sounds.
You sound
Oh,
like Soundwave or a Cylon
that's
Rainer.
awesome. Time to close this off.
Well, I'll just keep talking while you do that.
Yeah, keep telling about Green Lantern stuff while I.
That line also gave us the different Green Lantern characters. We got Sinestro in his Green Lantern outfit. We got Tamara. We got John Stewart. I think there was even a Guy Gardner. Like we got many more
Yes,
of them.
I think
And
I think Guy Gardner showed up. Remember the 5 pack? There was a 5 pack that came out. I think it was like 70 years of Green Lantern, and it was like Hal Jordan, Tama Ray, Sinestro in the Green Lantern outfit because I don't know if
right,
he's
yeah,
an
that's what I was just
exclusive,
talking
but
about. Yeah.
uh, John
And they did a
yeah, John
two-pack with
Jones.
Hal Jordan and Sir. They did there were some cool ones.
They had this. I remember really being getting into this because again, like I wasn't into Green Lantern initially. Even when they tried to like make him serious, and then they turned him into Parallax, and then he was the Spectre, and then he came back again as just fun loving
Right.
Hal. But I just wasn't into him. I did get into it with Kyle. Like Kyle, I thought was cool, but also he was the artist, and they you play around with different stories, and
Yeah.
it made for really cool accessories. Like Hal had the general like blast of Green Lantern energy, and I liked that John Jones, as he was depicted in both the comic and Justice League Unlimited, was the military guy. So he came
John
with like
Stewart.
the
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John Stewart. Too many Johns.
Yeah.
One of them has to go. Both green. One of them's got to go. Um, John Stewart came with like the machine guns, and I like that
Yeah.
Kyle came with that really cool Fisto style gauntlet holding the sword.
Yeah, he did. Kyle
That was
Rayner
really
is
cool.
one of my favorite Green Lanterns of all the like. There was some cool. There are, Jessica Cruz is cool.
Mhm.
You had Sinestro in the costume and all of them, but like Guy Gardner, like Kyle was my favorite.
It took us. I remember it took us a while to get Guide. I don't remember if he was. I think the first time you could get Guide, I could be mistaken. I think one of the first times you could get him was in that 5 pack. Um,
Yeah,
I would like to see him. I always wanted to get one where
I think
it
there's
had an
also a
inner.
Justice League Unlimited of Guy and
Yes, yeah, because when Unlimited came out, they there was the toy line for that as well, which I
Mhm.
also man, Green Lantern became like the symbiote collector for me. Like anything, pretty much anything that's a symbiote, I will collect. And as much as I complain about it being overused in comics now, I will purchase pretty much any symbiote in toy form just because. And when Blackest Night kicked in, it was the first time that I really paid attention to Green Lantern, and them introducing the Sinestro Corps really
Yes,
got me into it. And they had such a close tie to both DC Universe, but also DC Direct was like right. They were riding
they were right on it. Yep,
the edge of it. So
because they
we were
gave us Parallax and all the other ones as well.
yeah. I remember I think I skipped on him when he first came out because I just wasn't interested in him. But when the Blackest Night story was coming out and we were getting like different members of the Sinestro Corps that we weren't getting in DC Universe. And we were I can't remember his name. There's a Sinestro Corps version of Tamaray. But DC Direct also gave us Salak from the Green Lantern Corps, the
Yes.
cool looking guy with the red head. Uh,
Mhm.
they were the first ones to do Kilowog. Although kudos to DC Universe, I that build a figure of Kilowog just one of the
It's
best.
fantastic. Yeah, that thing looks great.
And then using him as Arkilo, who was again like one of my favorite characters, just in all of the lanterns.
Yeah.
Such a cool design. It was really cool seeing him again on the Kilowog buck, but it made sense because they were both giant dudes. But again, like DC Universe just kind of edging them out because their their Arkilo, even though he wasn't as large as the Build a Figure, was more comic accurate and current because he came with his tongue on a necklace. Because
Yeah.
in the comic, he had his tongue ripped out. So that was
Yeah.
I of course I had both, and I was just
Right.
anyone who offered
I want
something
a
first.
necklace with my tonsils on it. That would be cool.
You know what? When I had my wisdom teeth removed, I I wanted them to bring them to me, but I was also just coming out of it
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
anesthetic, and they're like, "Don't listen to anything you say." It's like
Yeah.
bring them
Bring
to
down
me.
the new Kilowog from the new McFarlane Superpowers line is also a fantastic figure. That sculpt is amazing. It's only got the 5 points, but it's really well done.
Yeah, the McFarlane stuff is looking really good, and
Mhm.
I'm hoping that he does what DC Universe did not, because they did manage to tackle a lot of lanterns. I mean, we got a lot of one of the things that I guess is the benefit to doing the Green Lanterns as a whole is that repaints galore, and
Right.
as again like if you were a customizer back then or just someone that wanted to fill out your collection, there like what a golden time to be living in because you could take
Yeah.
anyone could be a Green Lantern. Yeah, anytime there's a like a Lantern Corps battle that happens in the comics, the artists always have so much fun with it. Like there's a background scene during one of the Green Lantern and Sinestro Corps fights where there was a Sinestro Corps Predator. There was a Sinestro Corps version of I think his name was
Right.
Bolton from Ultraman, which is awesome. And
Yeah.
there's so many great homages that are out there. But whatever figure you had, depending on the color scheme, you could just toss them in there. I remember there was an Iron Man line that had come out, and I don't recognize any of the armors that they were offering, but there was one that was mostly red and black. There was one that was mostly blue and black, and I was like, more lanterns. Don't mind if I do.
Yeah. Absolutely. I have a power ring, and I once in a while I put it on, and I apparently don't have enough willpower to make it work.
You'll
But
get there.
on a rough day, I'll be like,
I want
but
to
then
say
with that kind of feeling, though, I'm lucky it's not a yellow ring. That would probably work.
I want to say DC. I want to say DC Direct was including power rings with their
Yeah,
figures because
yeah.
it's
I
funny you
have one
bring that
too with
up.
the flash
Yes,
ring too that pops open.
I had managed to get.
It's laying around here somewhere, the little flash ring.
I have all of mine in a box with the other Green Lantern stuff that I collected. Right. Again, once Blackest Night happened, and we had so many different Lantern Corps running around, I had to get one. As I was just buying the toys, I wound up with this
Right.
collection of lantern rings.
I love the introduction of the whole rainbow of lanterns and what
Yes,
their motivating energy is. So well done. I loved it.
it was really cool to see someone finally delve into because I think part of Green Lantern's whole thing is him saying the oath, and every
Right.
oath has an origin, and no one ever delved into that, and it was really cool to see, in Brightest Day and Blackest Night, and no one ever stopped to say what is Blackest Night? Like, yeah, I guess it was just considered kind of a metaphor at the time, and it was nice to see someone say, no, they're actually referring to something that will actually happen.
Yeah, and it was
Brightest Day
such a
is a
good
thing.
storyline. Brilliant.
Blackest
And
Night
those
is a thing.
figures still look great. Those that whole line.
They are fantastic. I remember when when the comic was running and we were getting different this back and forth between DC Direct and DC Universe cranking out lanterns and wondering when we were going to get Necron. And
Right.
I remember the solicitations for Necron showing him as a Build-A-Figure, which he
Mhm.
absolutely should have been. And he had his side that had the Black Lantern as an actual lantern on the side, and everyone being so jazzed for it. And then I guess I'm sure they pieced it out and they went over the numbers, and the side was just out of budget, so we did not get the side
Yeah.
with them. And it was such a, I remember the fandom was so upset, and there was just nothing that could be done. It just
Yeah, it just didn't
wasn't
work
going to
out.
happen. But then in comes DC Direct, who also did Necron with the scythe. Unfortunately, he was only maybe like 6-inch scale, which
Right.
was a shame.
But
And
now
it's
the McFarlane one is perfect.
McFarlane has fixed it. So kudos to McFarlane because a lot of his Lantern stuff has actually been really good, and
Yeah,
I'm
some
looking
cool
forward to a lot of it.
accessories.
I
That twirling dragon around from the wrist. Yeah.
Yeah, I have hit I hit this inflection point where I collected all the
Uh-oh.
Lantern stuff
Tom's
that
getting deep. Tom's
yeah
getting deep.
I collected all the Lantern stuff that I was going to collect, and then Blackest Night came to an end, and then I stopped. Like it went right up to around like the White Lantern story, and then they brought people back, and there was like kind of that line of White Lanterns, or like the Flash was a White Lantern, and Sinestro was, and
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
gotten all of those, and then I felt like it just kind of came to a screeching halt, and I was like,
It did.
"Oh, it was a nice ride." So seeing McFarlane kind of go back and revisit, it's great for people that weren't around to collect those initially.
Yeah. I
But I
agree.
can't bring myself to get any of them. I don't own like I own
You're just glad to see them.
I'm
Just
glad to
glad
see that they exist. I want that Necron. Every time I see him on sale, I'm like, you need to get that Necron.
You should get him. He's pretty
Just
cool.
because he looks great, and I'm sure he's articulated well, and I just can't put the trigger on it because I think part of it is me being afraid that I'm gonna get back into that Green Lantern fever, and I'm not gonna be able to stop because it was bad. I was collecting the movie
Oh, I know
stuff.
that feeling. I know that feeling. Like, I really want that, but it's going to trigger that piece of my
Yeah,
brain that needs to have them all, and
I
then it's not going to go well.
yeah, I've been avoiding it because it's such a kind of a dark time in Green Lantern history, even though it shouldn't be. But the Green
Right?
Lantern movie,
I was just ready to say,
the
speaking of dark times, 2010.
the movie comes out, and
Yeah.
it's just awful. And unfortunately, the toy line just awful. And it's not the toy line's
Well, on the
fault.
flip side, we did get a lot of characters. We
We
did get a
got a
lot of
lot of
lanterns.
we got a lot of characters. Unfortunately, it was in the weird, like bare muscles style look of the suit, where it just looked
Yeah.
like someone had flayed them apart, and you could see all the striations in the muscle.
Yep.
It was just not a look that I enjoyed. Some of the more alien figures I did get. I had the fever, so
Right.
I had to get them all. Some of the larger figures were really cool. I
Yeah, the
remember
bigger ones were cooler than the 4-inch ones for sure.
Yeah, there was like a cool kind of like toad looking creature that had been made. There is a video that Toy Guru actually put out that is interesting. When you get him talking about actual industry information. It is very interesting. He was talking about how the way that they had pieced out that line, and they wanted this just ever spanning wave, like nonstop waves of Green Lanterns, with the incentive being that you could piece together Parallax, who just looked like garbage.
Just awful.
What a trash! Like they just gave up. Like who came up with this? Like no shade to the actual sculptors, because there's a lot of interesting detail. It's just an awful design overall. But
that movie did give us what's his name as Sinestro, which was fantastic.
Oh yeah, it was good, and they gave us the stinger at the end. He's gonna go yellow, but no one wants to see that.
Yeah,
and no one.
But that Parallax, you're right, was horrible.
Yeah, and but apparently, I guess because the line was so long, and they had planned, I guess, probably too far ahead. They got a little too over their skis towards the end of the line, because those last maybe like 4 or 5 figures are really hard to find. They were like, we're still putting together pieces for the Build-A-Figure. Instead of wasting time with that, we'll just release the parts. So one of the final figures in the line is just the main body portion of the Build-A-Figure. Which again is just stupid. But it came out.
Absolutely stupid.
I want to say I have it. At that point, I was kind of just getting anything and everything at that point in time. But it doesn't even matter if you have it, because it's just a bubbly yellow worm with a human-ish face, and then strange yellow tentacles, just wherever, however you get him to stand, whatever. And I was like, you could have given, instead of doing Parallax, how about this? How about you give us an inflatable beach ball and a tiny character that is a fly, and you say inflate the beach ball. It's Mogo.
Right.
It's the planet.
I just can't believe they went with Parallax right out the bat. Like
we didn't need,
you had the perfect.
We didn't need that.
You could have just gone with Sinestro to spin up that story a little more, and then went in that direction. You would have been fine.
You know what I do wish they would have done? I'm leaving the movie behind because it's trash.
Okay, done with the movie.
I wish that DC Universe had gotten around to doing more of the female Lantern characters, because we were just saying how the way that they handled the sculpts and the articulation was a little bit better, but DC Direct was on top of that, again, because they were very closely aligned with the comics and who was coming out when. So we didn't. They made characters like Aricia and Jade and I forgot the name of Sinestro's daughter. But they made all those characters, Sinestra. And I always wanted to Sinestra. So simple. No, I think it was like Ceranic Natu or something like that. But I always wanted to see her in the DC Universe line, because I guess that they were relying more on repaint possibilities than they were on character selection. But I wanted to see more of that, like the Manhunters. I'm glad that we got Manhunters.
They need to be bigger, but
yes, I would like to have seen beefier Manhunters. That would have been nice. But you know what else I also would love to have seen? When they introduced the idea that every Lantern Corps had an entity that powered that core.
Right.
So like Green Lanterns had Ion and Parallax. Like I know that it's going to leave the movie behind, but I know that the movie was giving us.
It's hard to forget about it. It's just scarred into your brain
because it did some things right. Like there were some things that it was trying to do.
Ryan
was
Reynolds
right.
was just poorly cast. Not that he's bad, but he's not Hal Jordan. Like he should have been somebody else. Hal Jordan is a serious dude.
Yeah, no, he was still being Deadpool, which fine. But they wanted to give us Parallax. I was going to say
Van Wilder, but you know.
But they wanted to give us Parallax, which is what I would want. Like I want that entity as like a large Build-A-Figure that is also clear. I just didn't want that garbage. Right. But I would love to have seen that with the other core. How like the Red Lanterns had the Butcher. Let's talk about Red Lanterns.
Yes,
real quick.
And speaking of that animated Green Lantern series, that CGI one was fantastic. Have you seen it?
It really is.
The storyline. Now the animation is a little weird, but the writing is spot on.
Yeah, it's got a very specific style to it. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and I would say like the setup for season 1 is really good, but season 2 is where it really kicks off. And I wish that's another line where like I really wish that we had gotten a toy line to go along with that series.
Right.
Oh, we're getting down to the wire. We're gonna have to.
Okay. I
We're
just
gonna
want
have
to
to.
say,
We have to
Atrocitus is
continue.
cool. Atrocitus is cool.
Atrocitus is fantastic, and I love him, and he embodies everything that I would be in my walking life. Uh, so, but we'll have to continue this because there's still so much Green Lantern stuff.
Really?
So
Enough for another episode? All right.
I believe so because
All right.
we haven't even touched like the later lines from DC Direct and then the later like Rainbow Lantern line from DC Universe.
All right.
And I want to ask you if you were gonna make a Green Lantern, or I'm sorry, just a lantern, what would you make?
Like one that is motivating, that would motivate me.
Open ended.
All right. Well,
Could be a member of a
if,
corps,
if
could
I
be your
could
own
charge
corps.
my ring, yeah, it would be probably fueled by frustration.
The frustration core.
Yeah. What color would frustration be? I don't know. Maybe a deep purple. Something you're like, oh, that's nice. Nope, that's not a nice purple. It's
That's when you've run out of oxygen.
yeah. It would be that. It'd be fueled by frustration, and that the level of frustration in my life would make me actually the most powerful person around. Darkseid would never get out of my purple bubble.
He himself would become frustrated.
Yeah, he'd be like, where do I get some purple outfits?
I'm tired of this.
And that's the thing. I would make everybody else so frustrated they would join my corps.
I would
It'd probably be brown, more likely. It'd be the brown lanterns.
Else, you would just be my core.
How about you?
I want another crossover. And when you hear it, you'll agree.
Okay.
Ninja Turtles crossed with Green Lanterns.
Right,
For
it
the
makes
love of
sense.
Pete,
That would be a good one.
give us this crossover. I want Red Rat.
I guess I misunderstood the question.
I want Red. Well, it was very open ended. It was
Yeah.
kind of anything. I want Red. And they're all the colors. I want Leonardo for Hope. I want
Yes.
Violet Dawn. I want Michelangelo as the Orange Lantern of greed, hoarding all the pizza. I want
Yes.
Raphael as the Red Angry Lantern.
Why do I feel like
I
I'm going to
just-
see sketches of this?
I
any
want
day
this
now?
so much. As soon as I get
That
done,
makes perfect sense. Awesome
they
job.
work so well, and they've already been in DC. They've already
Yeah.
hung out with Batman, so it's not like they wouldn't be hanging out somewhere else.
I like it.
Give me that. Get on it. Mattel, Playmates, DC Direct, McFarlane. I don't care who does it. Somebody needs to do this, please.
Yes, on it.
I feel like we almost kind of got that in the 2003 series. Like this is really just Blue Lantern Leonardo. This is
Yeah.
just Sinestro Corps Michelangelo. Which, by the way, if Super 7 is doing the 2003 Ninja Turtles, give us that. So weigh in, everybody. Let us know what kind of Green Lantern product or core you would like to see and have and own. You can get a hold of us on Twitter. Our handle is 2guystalkingtoys. That is the number 2, no G after the talking. Same thing for our Gmail. We also have Instagram, which is just
Yay!
Talking Toys. Jump on. You can see our Cradle Con stuff. You can see our random trips to Target stuff. Enjoy and take care, everybody.
Ciao, baby.